a quirky thing I learned about her. And everyone on this team is so stacked, and I'm excited to see how this is going to go. And yeah, how you're going to enable Femboy on the other side. It's going to be a lot of Juno with the paranoias, or what do you think?
I don't know. I'm just thinking based on what you were saying about the fun fact of Mel is that, okay, Starbound plays at a 1.3 800 DPI, which means that they will not be able to swing as fast unless let's take advantage of that. You think that's how Mel thinks?
Probably.
That'll be so nerdy and awesome.
She probably knows like exactly how they're gonna run the pistols, so that's just how good she is. But Starbound, with a quick peek from Donut of all things, SRG trying to test the waters, but Starbound holds their ground.
That's not how you're going to win the pistol, to kick things off that way, but they were trying to find some sort of way to get forward position from Donut, and she also has TP. Right, so you're trying to find information at the very beginning, playing it very slow on the side of WADA to get the first blood and pick. This is what we're talking about. You're going to have to continue with slow scaling, potentially here waiting for the next TP to come through for Starbound so they can set it up and work together. Now with the explosion for a split into the B site, it seems that WADA will have this open area to plant, and you're forcing SRG to play a full 4-player retake.
Oh, there's the barrier to just lock out Noya, who's trying to go for early peaks, and staying behind is Astralis, because once this barrier is gone, you don't want to give up that high ground control, and Noya just gets jump scared by Astralis, who's going to try and play their life, but this battle for the high ground is going to be pretty important. And Noya doesn't want to get flanked either, making sure mid is clear. Now SRG set their sights forward while the spike is planted. There's the fault line from Alexis looking for targets. WADA try to stay as hidden as they can, but it's just seems like another day at the office. But you got to deal with Starbound, who's looking for the 3rd kill for WADA this round alone, and Mel gets taken out. Noya's in a 1v2, and WADA just have to hold it down, and they do.
Very well done by WADA towards the end, but it really looked like the fundamentals and what SRG were trying to do on the retake was quite nice. Mel throwing that one-way smoke on New Box doesn't really allow WADA to get great angles to try to trade off against the players that are stuck outside of the site, flushed away by the SRG utility with the fault line and salvos in the back of the site. That said, though, once again, those 2 players that were blocked out towards that front utilized the one-way smoke and also the pillar to just play within Shopify Rebellion Gold's smoke and fight within that area to not allow here Shopify to get inside the radius for a defuse. So very, very nicely done on the retaliation towards the end, forcing now SRG on the save, who they just seem to want to control orb and not try to give that away to the side of the attack. As you can definitely see here for PowerPix LA, they're pretty close here, almost halfway into the Armageddon. So shutting that down is a great start for SRG. And for WADA, well, they got better weapons, right? Splitting out towards mid control. They also have Juno inserted inside fence. WADA should have an easy run-in towards the A site and leverage Juno for his play lurk.
Kind of this noise from Juno is pulling attention towards them, so WADA can try to move in, exploding onto the site. You already have Femboy getting into position. Smoked off is the rest of SRG. And another first blood goes in WADA's favor, for Sarah could make her impact known. But Starbound, the outlaw, that's pretty loud and proud. And the peek from Bell, the immediate teleport out. This is pretty clinical from WADA, as you would expect with the weapons that they have. But I'm just kind of impressed how the protocols are looking this smooth this early.
Yeah, this is what's going to be annoying here for Shopify Rebellion to deal with. So far, with every time you're executing for WADA inside these sites, they are also leveraging Astralis a lot.
One enemy remaining.
We'll talk about that in a bit. Noya is tapping onto that spike and bringing it halfway. Okay, never mind. Not with those satchels. But to continue on then, Jen, the utility right now from Astralis with the Grafnet you throw on the execution, 40-second refreshes now with the changes going into the deadlock. You can actually use that as a denial from, you know, in a similar way as the salvos are getting refreshed every 35, just to make sure that you guarantee some rounds. Plus, the wall is going to be a problem to deal with here for Shopify, and they have to find ways to probably stop Astralis early in the rounds so that WADA cannot really set up as comfortably here in the pulse plants.
How you can make WADA uncomfortable in those close plants, maybe off that cosmic divide, but also just WADA conditioning SRG to just be on the lookout for Starbound at all times. That sniper in check over on the A side. SRG have had to now maybe think about investing more than just kind of dry peeking Starbound, who's taking W's. SRG are going to have to go in pairs to deal with this, but as a result, it gives up a lot of mid-map control now to WADA.
Sensor down.
Definitely know someone's there.
Yeah, and actually information on 3 players for WADA. Because Starbound getting pushed the way that he did at the very beginning knows that there's 2 players controlling the orb on A, and then with the sonic sensor getting busted on the top event, it's weak side B. So I love the pivot back on WADA, go back inside the garage, and go for a 3-1 swing to punish Mel in the very beginning, and now there's no smoke to delay. Thankfully, at least, Sarah and Alexis still have salvos and Armageddon, and Fault Line to stop the second wave hit. WADA once again has an opportunity for a clean take towards the fight.
After the double key from WADA, SRG had already stacked over on this side, and Alexis has been ready to try and set up Sarah for success. The double initiators that were smoked off and just kind of have to wait to see what the move is from WADA. And now knowing mid is clear, there's a barrier in vent. They try to take high ground, but Noya is still prime and ready. All of SRG held their angles, and WADA just did not surprise them. Once SRG found out their game plan, it was over.
Unfortunately, it was a very, very late call for WADA. At the time to call to fall back, I don't know if they were trying to force a rotate back towards the A site or just try to go for a late push into heaven. But the late push into heaven just gives an opportunity here for SRG to be in perfect positions inside the B site, and also already rotated on the top of the staircase because you already made so much noise at the very beginning, and Mel already saw 3 players walk into B main that took her down. And there's no way to move back towards the A side because you already had Australis throw a wall on top of Ven, so you're just cutting your own time down. And it seems like you just walked into and ran into a meat grinder and just got eliminated towards that B heaven side. So a slight mistake in the mid-round calling in my eyes for WADA, but at least they've done that damage. It was a bonus round coming through. They only invested into the outlaw that was on that second round for Starbound. Some pistols around, keeping the economy low against Jump Carbell and Gold. And SRG, given that respect to Starbound, full armor in this round with the exception of Sarah, so that Starbound, they know that Starbound will try to come out with an off or at least an outlaw early into these rounds. So that is another key component for WADA and the respect given to them, and to keep the economy quite low on the buy for SRG this round.
Here.
And Starbound's hitting this A side pretty consecutively, but this time they're using Astralis and these grav nets to flesh out these corners around ramp and kind of try and draw out targets into this op sight line. Now that they're smoked off, WADA put on in. Femboy gets caught. Donuts will not be perturbed. The 3, the 4th on the drop. I can already hear the A's chants for Donut. There were a crowd. Oh, but you gotta hunt down Starbound. Yeah, see, Vance got you. Kind of sounds demonic though a little bit, but Sarah took the A.
But a beautiful flawless, and that is going to be another issue here for WADA, as you see. So at least the macro at the very beginning when they're trying to manipulate the map is actually quite good and doing a great job at punishing Shop Carbell and Gold in the very beginning. But you're seeing that SRG are not overextending this round or that previous round, and you're running through smokes. The utility that comes through here from WADA, they're not playing a breach, so their only flash that they have is going to have to be an omen. You can't get that position on top there, on the top of heaven, so you have to be a little bit more cleaner on your fundamentals outside the smokes to make sure that you guarantee a trade. But unfortunately, it's 3 individual one-on-one running through smokes that makes it very easy for Donut to hold. And now she has an op that she stole away from the previous round from Starbound, and it makes it easier for the anti-eco of WADA this round 5.
WADA usually like a really slow round to just play off of picks and using their deadlock to kind of force some action over in vents.
Right.
But this time this deadlock is supporting the ramp side, and now that goes unsmoked, and I don't think WADA expected 2 people to be posted up, and Starbound has won every 1v1 thus far, but crossing into ropes, looks like A will be the focus, and SRG have a good read on it.
And that's what was a good thing. PowerPixel was able to sneak through on the top of middle, but thinking that they were going to be able to get some sort of backstab on heaven. But it all calms down. Everything's going to be a little bit easier for SRG. They're playing a little bit more passive and reactive and letting WADA run into the crosshairs. Ooh.
What the heck? How does the race just drop on you with a classic? I'm surprised even for Donut because she had such a good position to watch heaven with the op and to drop that. pretty rough. SRG have to break back in, one of them having a judge, but hey, WADA are going to overextend like this and give up numbers. This is now really guaranteed for SRG, as Astralis has to fight a 1v3 with an op. And almost got the one, but SRG are back in the lead.
Thought I was through a wall too, and that was very nice by Mel to swing towards the back of Alexis, almost getting caught with the aftershock as she was trying to flush the players out of WADA. And thankfully, again, Mel that was there so to allow here SRG to win that 3v1 towards the tail end of the round. And you were mentioning how did the op get lost there by Donut? That's Femboy, who's been very good with the satchel so far in this game. They've satcheled now great entries towards the top of heaven, and this time around just out from A heaven into the A side to drop the op. But unfortunately, the eco that came through from WADA was not good enough to capitalize on a round win or even a spike plant. But because it was a full eco here, at least they have a buy coming through, and this is now the discussion coming through from King Fred calling this timeout here for WADA. What can you expect now playing against Shopify Brilliant Gold, and how can you stop Donut knowing that she has an op and that you don't have any like flashes or anything to push Donut out of position? And playing as a Yuri here, Jen, you're expecting here Donut to continue to play these ops on the aggressive lines as soon as the barrier comes up towards the A site, middle, for example, or even towards B garage, and she'll try to TP away. I think the responsibility is going to have to be onto Starbound after this timeout to try to figure out and maybe guess where this op could be and force them to go into the duel against Donut, because not going to lie, Starbound has had a highlight clip in kickoff with the operator, and we'll see if they have and will be able to continue to hold their responsibility against the star duelist of SRG.
Yeah, the big tools you have with the paranoia and the grab net, and that's just either deny some positions or try and really force a good duel for WADA, which is to set up Starbound for success. And usually that's been on the B side, and this is now a big pivot. You're leaving Juna, who has the ult, who can teleport over on the opposite side when needed, when called upon, and WADA tried to get information off the Armageddon, but now SRG is the one to pop the Armageddon in mid, and now the spike is down, and you couldn't go anywhere else. That was so beautifully placed by Sarah.
So nice too, and Alexis went for the timing of the fault line right into the vents where they could escape the Armageddon, but then they go right into the fault line in a double swing from ropes. That's very nice from SRG to react right after the timeout. That's spiked down. Last two players, I think at this point, you got to save. It's a 5 versus 2. I know there's 45 seconds left, but you've invested so much into the operator already. And I'd like to see the last two players save.
Yeah, maybe thinking Alexis used a bunch of util. They feel confident enough to maybe try and grab the spike. And as long as you have your op like hard aiming, you feel confident about getting a pick if someone were to challenge. But now there's multiple angles to watch. There's vents and heaven, and there's only 2 players from WADA. So the grab on the spike tells me that they don't want to save, and I think Alexis is ready for whatever comes her way.
Yeah, but with 10 seconds left now, it's confirmed. Because the longer you're waiting to grab that spike, you know that the second wave of refreshable utility around Sarah and Alexis are back up. So it renders it very difficult here for you to try to take control of site, which is why, understandably, at the minute mark, the call here from Mel is to turtle up inside the site. Once again, let them come towards you. They can't really find and use util to really catch you off guard, so might as well just play the buddy system and react through a crossfire setup, rather, inside both sites and guarantee the round. That said, though, as you've mentioned here, Lemon Kiwi, it was a beautiful, beautiful setup coming out here from Shopify Rebellion to cover up towards middle. And now it's just going to have to, once again, leverage the 2 rifles that they saved on the previous round. This could be big, though. There's a lot of vaults on the side of WADA. And pick off the off at the beginning. A showstopper can start things off as well. And that type of opener, too.
And I love that from WADA, because they've been playing so slow, just playing for picks and hitting the weaker site. And Femboy gets activated more in the mid-round, and now fully online, able to really dictate the aggression for WADA, leading the charge like a cavalry. And now they're on the site, and things feel pretty good. All you need to do is make sure Juna watches the flank, and SRG will have to retake. The one good thing is that they have the high ground and back screens on smoke.
And the ult's available for the full spot of WADA.
Wow, the 3rd one for Femboy as soon as they got flushed out by the Armageddon of power from LA. So, 3 HP in a dream. smoked off, and WADA can stay calm for now, while the flank Cosmic Divide there by Noya, and a good catch coming from the backside. WADA lead themselves in a 2 versus 1 with Starbound pretty much on the last leg there. Quick swing, quick end for Alexis, and clutches it for the team. And can't refuse, but it was still cool.
Still got some good shots and trying to see if she can run forward and grab the op towards the end, but I think it's going to be too far to pick up, and unfortunately not there. But yeah, as you've mentioned here, Jen, cool shots coming through at least to highlight those last 2 kills. But I thought I was going to say I'd love to see Juna plant instead of Power Pixel, so you can try to guarantee at least the Armageddon and the salvos to delay on the pulse plant. But instead, when you have Power Pixel playing inside the site and players helping them out inside there, it worked out quite well because now you're forcing all of the util, all the ults, and forcing the players to run into you. And it worked out in favor of them towards the weapons that they carried over from the previous round. So a beautiful save that rendered into a victory with a lower buy for WADA. And the game stays close now, round number 8.
And SRG are not peeking them early. After they got first blooded by Starbound a couple times,
Exactly.
SRG would rather play time because WADA are playing slow. And I think even last round, Femboy just taking things off super fast, I think was huge for them to just try and change things up and condition SRG to just be on their toes at all times. Got the Tejo bot that's not going to get any info, but SRG will hang back.
And both of the teams are actually playing quite patiently, because you have the op from Starbound, the Dildo Fells activating here from the chamber, and the other op just waiting on the other side, and that's going to kick things off. You're trying to see after that pick, will there be over rotates? Mel should be in a good spot to get one of her own.
Easy pick for Mel. She's changed up her spot, playing from the backside to now the corner boxes. And Alexis, who's always been by her side, dynamic duo. It's had so many years together to coordinate, and now fault line, or no, double flashes, I mean, for SRG. If WADA wanted to continue hitting the site, it's going to be a lot harder to do with the numbers that they have left. But Femboy tries to surprise and is quickly
10 seconds
shut
left.
down by Sarah.
And you see the economy remaining for the rest of the players while they're dead here for WADA. It's abysmal. So again, another round where you have to save the rifle into the next, but this time not carrying op over. This time not carrying any big bolts outside of the annihilation for an entry on your end. But also, you're starting to see the cycles come through in favor of SRG. They have a great ult for retakes into Donut's dimensional drift as this Yoru. But WADA playing fairly slow doesn't seem to be the answer anymore here on their end, because SRG, as you've mentioned here, Lemon Kiwi, are not playing as aggressive in the early rounds as they did since the pistol round. And have them walk into SRG's crosshair is easy peasy. You're seeing at least on the A side the op, it's because you could TP away.
Starbound
That's a
just
casting
like
curse, right?
that.
My bad.
Right? I mean, Starbound was the easy MVP on Earth and Split when they faced Berserker's Dawn and Noya. My president gets the spike dropped and is going for a solo ace off of that. And there it is at the end. Mel had to gift it over, but an iBUYPOWER ace, that was huge.
Very, very nice. And that was a selfless play, right? Just Femboy focusing in front of their crosshair so that Noya could come in for the backstep in the back, but it started off so well. The two first pick, the off angles positioned by Starbound to get the headhunter. Double headshot. Never expected coming out there from SRG, as they thought they had a better timing when the barriers came up. Ended up being a very nice little entry, but yet pistols for the rest of the players, and Noya had easier picks. This time it's being pinged out though. They're aware of these positions, and they're even trying to go for salvos in the very beginning to not allow here. Starbound to get into position, but Starbound's waiting the whole time.
It's just the smoke gets dropped at the perfect time. What a pick from Starbound, returning to their roots of holding over at A, and this time not with a deadlock, setting up graph nets, just send Femboy to go kill at ramp and to satchel up. And that level of space taking forces SRG to play towards heaven or even all the way at screens, especially if they're not going to have eyes on mid. and then therefore no eyes on ropes, then you just gotta play as far back as you can. As long as SRG are around, try and retake as fast as possible. They really lost out on time before in SRG. Still have Sarah hanging around. They got the spike drop, and WADA are losing this round slowly but surely.
Cosmetic as well. Noya gets the pick on the Battle of Top Heaven, but look at this big flank from Mel into A main. Even with Alexis dropping Starbound, it's going to be difficult for Juna rather to win this, especially with only a judge. But you see the movements coming out here from Shotfire Rebellion Gold. WADA, even though playing slow, when they're able to get picks and they're starting to activate, they're staying as a group. So Mel is trying to get these reads of like, okay, well, let me try to check into Garage. Nobody's there. I'm just gonna go for the instant flank, knowing that WADA stays as a group, and Shotfire Rebellion were always ready on that. It looked like WADA would be able to take the site. You saw that SRG are playing way more passively, or trying to utilize utility with them to help the players anchored inside the A site to get good value off the kills because of the information that Mel is getting on these flanks. WADA, this round number 11, again, grouped up as 5.
Making sure that Sarah isn't going to be inside of the site this time. A little bit more free reign for Femboy. Now, the only thing they don't have checked is ramps, and that's something that WADA tried to push last round, and, well, SRG bit back. So WADA will just have to look up at the upcoming challenge from SRG. They have, of course, screens barriered off, so SRG get into position. Now that it's unsmoked, they look for targets, and WADA are playing time so well. Noya already stuffs out too, but the pair fight back. It's already Noya down early. Donut surprised from behind, trying to pair up with Alexis, and now the fight begins on so many fronts, and Juna's able to hold down quite well and leave Alexis all on her own, and it's a WADA thrifty.
Great job by WADA to actually take advantage of the small mistakes from SRG. Running outside of the smoke when the idea around SRG was waiting for Donut to get a lot of information value from her dimensional drift. You already had it once again, another big lurk, this time coming in from Sarah from B main because of the 5-player hits coming out from WADA. And as they try to create this diversion, create the ruckus, also losing a player in the process before Donut finds information, everybody's so hyper-focused to try to take down Australis that nobody paid attention to Juna that was still in sewers, which allows for her to get the easy kill onto Sarah towards the end. A thrifty that hurts onto Shotfire Rebellion, but thankfully, as the rounds have been amassed over the side of SRG, they have money to work with in round number 12.
Oh, Alexis go for a play in B main to try and shut down maybe a read of WADA trying to hit the B site, and you got Armageddon running everybody over in mid, and it's WADA walking into a very familiar trap, and one that they're not very much appreciating, with the spike down in the worst position possible for Juna, left in a 1 versus 3 on the site, but now worried about the flank, worried about Heaven, back site, so many problems.
Shadows traveling.
The amount of times that they haven't been hitting towards this B site, they haven't really been seeing SRG going for these early pushes towards Garage. But Juna, I mean, could get it done.
Just the 1-2? Very possible now against Alexis. Still has a flash. Well, it's about timing, because Juna also needs to get the objective done, and the spike is still down. Knows that Juna hasn't had the time to go and deal with that.
30 seconds left.
So I think Alexis can just play off of the sound cue once the spike gets planted, to just go and swing off of that.
Gonna book it to A. Yeah, at this point, you're grabbing the spike. You haven't been pushed up. You're waiting for your moment. You're looking up on the top of the B Heaven, and you're not hearing any footsteps or seeing anybody watching that spike.
10 seconds
You
left.
know that Alexis is playing towards B main. So now this is Alexis getting played, and has a long rotate to come through from the B side over at A. When you mentioned the flash, okay, there's still util available for Alexis, but Juna has a paranoia, the bus flash, to play against Alexis, which is why Juna's staying inside the site.
I think Juno should be able to hear this coming as well, depending on how loud and proud Alexis wants to be. Now with the paranoia, Alexis kind of scrambling to get hidden. And Juna playing time. The 1v1. What a clutch. A Red Bull clutch at that. Juna's been quiet, but finally makes their presence known.
What a play by Juna as well. hitting Alexis with a paranoia and going for the TP across. And even if she doesn't get to a spot where she can take down Alexis, by peeking through, hearing the footstep on Alexis dropping, and peeking around the corner and not seeing Alexis, you know that she's walking down towards the elbow, crosshair placement done, and a nice little clutch towards the end. I was just about to mention how it was so good for SRG to push towards the garage because WADA hasn't been doing it for the past 3 rounds, so they were able to actually get the surprise onto Femboy with the ult in their hands. Couldn't get the showstopper done, but nonetheless, you have a clutch play coming out here from Juna, hero play with the Red Bull clutch, and somehow, you know, if you're looking at the score distribution, the frag distribution, it's all on the side of SRG, but we still have a 7-5 scoreline. A close game to kick things off in this BO3.
And you think WADA's comp is more defensively favored, but we'll see in execution how that will go, because mainly this Deadlock's going to be holding down mid, buried off, so now they can pay attention to what's going on the site. Paranoias are thrown. Juna tries to hold down, desperately needs help, calling 911, and it's just SRG evicting WADA off the pistol, off the B site. And Starbound has to wrap around the back. You got a flank maybe forming from PowerPixel A, and SRG are already ahead of the game to try and meet this flank halfway. Noya gets kind of jump scared in the frenzy's too much.
Huge.
But wait, PowerPixel A is carving their way on the flank. Alexis and Donut have to hold it down, force a 1v1 that Donut wins. PowerPixel A, the position is known. Just a drone and no other util. The high-low. That was really close, but SRG take the second pistol.
That was very sick by PowerPixel A because eliminating both the Astra and the Tejo. Both of them trying to go through the market to play time on Pulse Plant. Denied. Gave a chance here for WADA to potentially win the round back in their favor. But SRG, the pivot, the adaptation coming through, knowing that there's still a matter of time before PowerPixel A can come back towards the B side, they decide to flip the map into Pulse Plant and try to shut down. I think that was Starbound on the other side, and unfortunately Starbound couldn't hit their shots with the headhunter like they did before, which allowed here SRG to actually win this pistol towards the end by the edge of their seat, keeping one player alive throughout the whole exchange of a 2v4. Great firepower coming out from WADA. Now they're on an eco. PowerPixel A stays with the Sheriff, and the respect once again coming out from Shopify. All of them staying back towards the spawn, anticipating some sort of a push, and with this drone clearing up towards middle and heaven, you know that they're playing extremities. So it's easy, just wait it out, but at least the silver lining is that WADA is able to capitalize on the orb on B side.
Ooh, okay. Femboy gets clipped a little bit, but yeah, WADA playing the Tejo and the Raze on B main is kind of a lot of information util that can be used to try to get that space and how important that orb fight is for them. Meanwhile, you have WADA defensively really anchoring down B as best as they can until B main just gets ran through by SRG through all of the chaos, leaving the A side members to have to rotate in, and that's going to be really tough with just, you know, the no util they have left.
Yeah, Starbound Headhunter, if you're able to get another pick here, this is a pretty successful eco, if you want to put it that way here for WADA. Astralis picks up the Sheriff, does have a grab net. They could do some good damage here on the pole spot against SRG.
No escape.
Especially being on high ground and just kind of causing disruption. Just had the net being thrown from Astralis. Maybe giving a chance for Starbound to find an alternate angle on the backside, clearing the half one at a time, but unfortunately isolating themselves and not going down to the spike and giving those ult orbs over, but you had to go for a play there.
Yeah, I agree. Or dying a spike or doing some damage. They've been now landing some good shots, and you know, this is game changer, so we're always going to repeat it. At least I am, like a broken record. The GC Sheriffs, there's always moments where they can definitely pop off with those. And you saw the first shot coming through by PowerPixel A inside the B site, and Starbound definitely with Headhunter bullets could have made it much more expensive for Shopify Gold in the buy in this round number 15. That said, though, you see that Sarah stays in the Sheriff. They're still trying to buy around so they could have a healthier buy in round number 16, win or lose. And WADA, well, then they have to try to capitalize on this round with the least number of players possible.
Kind of change up a more passive Femboy this time that he may not immediately use the boom bot, or at least not show face, and WADA try to hold back the forces. What a teleport, but the paranoia doesn't hit, and WADA are just found 6 feet underground, but SRG have a confident lead going in,
Out of
just
charges.
a one-member advantage with Heaven being open, watched over by Donut. Sarah with another angle, now trying to stay hidden from the suppression from WADA. You just heard the drop, so SRG have to react. No enemy remaining. It's just going to be about slow walking, and then the crossfire forms. Starbound has to look both ways before crossing the road and gets caught. 10-5, SRG doubling the score now.
Definitely starting to run away with this game, but dude, Mel just did a flex ninja double TP on the top box. I mean, look at those little pings coming up on the radar. It's being pinged out now by WADA. Being like, how the hell did Mel get on top of the rafters to actually drop one of our players on the top? And I think that was Femboy looking on the catwalk. And unfortunately, they were so hyper-focused to try to help their teammates towards the back of the site, which I think was Juna, who was being unloaded by utility on the side of SRG, that somehow Mel was able to slip through. She got lucky, though, because it feels as though any other type of timing, if somebody was hell or something, I feel she was going to be taken down. But sometimes you'll take that luck, you'll take the advantage out of that, and take the lead by the double. And now, WADA has no choice but to play into another lower buy.
3 rounds in a row hitting B. SRG are going to flip the script and try to see if they can condition WADA to stack more on the B side. And Starbound will keep them in check and teleport back into screens. And the Teo salvos almost catching Starbound. They'll stay as safe as they can. Now smoked off, WADA will get into position. Spike planted, SRG time on their side. They have their flank being watched by Noya. Alexis, who can get the drop down, and also gets further away for a rolling thunder if there is more of a unified retake from WADA.
Oh, no.
But a surprise from Juna in the sewer side. Wait, the clutch god like that, and the paranoia for the third. Wait, Juna's kind of like that.
Oh my god, how does that become a flawless round for WADA? I know they're still leading by a lot, and it seems very one-sided for SRG. I don't think that the coach is going to call, FBC is going to call a timeout here, because the gameplay was still pretty good so far on the attack side. They just got unlucky because Noya got caught into astral form, allowing Juna to get the easy pick. The second shot, though, was super clean. But then, unfortunately, you couldn't trade it right away for Alexis because they were so busy throwing the Rolling Thunder inside the site to protect those players inside the area. But I was just about to mention, Femboy had a stinger. They have an Armageddon, and Femboy still has satchels and grenades. So there's a great opportunity for WADA to play the retake, but I didn't expect such a beautiful pause for the back of the
Yeah, Juna's been getting so much confidence throughout the rounds as such a fresh player to the scene. But Donut, a vet, will show him how it's done. Got the dimensional drift in the background. Mel leads the front, and SRG just hit the site that has worked out so well for them before. As soon as they switch things up, they lose a round, so go back to what worked before.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was saying just before. They're okay with the game plan so far for SRG. It was just a little bit of unluckiness in the previous round where, again, one player gets caught off guard in the astral form and everything just unravels into a disaster on the side of SRG. But somehow another position that Mel is able to get some sort of TP, double TP in the back of enemy lines and gets a backstab, supports on a second kill, and SRG just dominates on a B-side hit that changes the tempo and the pacing that they just had on previous rounds. And that kind of throws WADA for a loop. They're now using their last timeout in this map while SRG still have their 2.
Just with how much space making a Shopify Rebellion can do with the salvos of the breach util from Alexis, just the double teleports from Mel. I just think WADA should be nowhere near the B site. Like, focus on mid, focus on playing in these get out positions, and I don't know, WADA trying to surprise them off the bat has been traded, and if they are confident, like a 2 versus 2 or 3 versus 3, then go for these kind of early punches, but I think WADA would look better just hanging back and playing for the 5-person retake.
I would agree with that for sure, because you still have, again, the pain shells and the salvos from both Femboy and PowerPixel that can maybe help. The only thing that might be difficult is that they don't have the best flashes to go for the retake on this map. I mean, the Omen flash is still one of the best flashes in the game, but with the elevation on flash retakes, it's a hit or miss, especially when you can't ping anymore in this game. So WADA, I do respect that if you want to try to play the retake, you just have to also be a unit. Make sure that you go for these instant trades. At least for now, they want to react on information in the game. With the turret getting pinged out on the top of B Heaven, they tried to go for some sort of trap play. Paint shells are already being used, salvos are already being used, and that's been identified by SRG, which is the reason why they're pivoting back towards this A site. They've chose perfectly here. Great call by Mel, because there's only Juna. I mean, as I say, only Juna. So, previously.
Good teleport out. Juna wants to still hold that position, not give up too much. And SRG have already kind of have all their ducks in a row. They have to spike planet. They have their Cosmic Divide sealing off heaven, and Mel's gonna try to surprise them. That's just the type of player that she is. Popping out of her own smoke. The 1, 2, 3 is all she wrote. SRG can always send Mel on the hunt to bring back everything they need. Now WADA just has Femboy. Now with the paranoia. Got a 4K from Mel, a flawless for SRG. We're 1 round away before we move on.
Point.
Yeah, Mel was pretty quiet in the first half, but I think it's just because she wasn't getting any action. Now she's at the forefront, just calling and saying, I'm going to entry for us as well. And just TPs all across the map every single time, and is getting multi-kills out of these, or at least the most pivotal kills on her entries with this Omen play. Something very difficult to deal with so far for WADA's end. They're not really paying attention to the pathing that Mel could really take around these hits from the side of Shopify Rebellion. And again, as we mentioned, King Fred getting great success with Ambrosia against SRG, but not the best with WADA because of a whole different comp. They have to be aware of the small gaps that they have with this composition to make sure that they have a stronger defense. Now they have a chance at least. They have a showstopper to work with. That could be huge for retakes.
And a paranoia swing play out of Femboy and Juna and B main. No one home, so SRG gonna go and figure out what's up there.
Get it.
WADA to play flawless from here on out. Just the orb grab plus the boom bot. WADA gonna get information that there's somebody in garage, and now that the barrier's expired in mid, this is gonna have Astralis pay more attention to the center and not as much of the site, while you have Starbound on the right of the Stinger, which always love to see them on any other weapon, but we'll see what kind of damage they can do if someone decides to just walk into the site.
Yeah, Stinger, TBH, best game. Best weapon in the game, in my opinion. The laser beam at the range that you're trying to play, so look at the range that Starbound's playing and can TP out of it.
Ooh.
Cast a curse again.
Did some okay damage, Alexis. Great meat shield in that point. Protect the
Pretty
team.
much.
You got the spike down, you got smokes in place, so there isn't someone immediately jumping out at you. A lot of the last round to try and come back on, and the flank's not going to work out. Noya won't let a clutch happen like that in front of her. Not again. And Mel just sees a walk up from Femboy. Gotta assume Heaven's not going to be let go for free. Now SRG know there's only 2 left in screens, and 13-6, another day at the office for Shopify Rebellion Gold.